Alrighty, we are live, everybody. Hello there to all of the folks who are joining us this evening. Thank you for coming in for another stream watch in session of Adventures in Agni with our all PoC D&D 5e campaign crew. So we have lovely people here. We actually have a guest joining us for this evening. And we are in a bit of a transition period, haha, for myself saying that, with getting some production details out of the way. So we might have an occasional blip while we're getting some stuff worked out tonight. But for those of you who've been watching our entire campaign, will mean almost nothing changed, actually. But with that out of the way, the first thing is thank you for those of you who are watching us. We want to give thanks to some wonderful people who've allowed this channel to continue in the way that it is. So first, secondly, to Devin Rue, the Mistress of Maps, and our amazing community supporter. And thirdly, to So Nerdware. People know So Nerdware is the place where you can get awesome WTTP merch at a discount. Use code WELCOME to get 10% off your next purchase. Thirdly, Patreon. Our Patreon not only goes to support the channel incubator, providing funds for amazing artists, writers, and more in the RPG community. So if you want awesome benefits while supporting some amazing makers and shows like our all PoC one-shot series 3V that happens on Sundays, this campaign, and others, please join our Patreon, support us. It's one of the best ways to help the channel out. Next, as always, if you're interested in actually becoming a part of this larger community, wait, hold on. Oh, Lord. Wait, hold on. Apologies, chat. Okay, doke. I believe I am slowly back. Apologies for that, chat. This might be intermittent issues throughout this. Can folks still hear me on this end?
Yes.
I'm seeing occasional movement from players. I'm going to take that as a no.
Yes.
Why is it?
But I can hear you fine.
Yeah, same.
Okay, doke.
Oh,
As stated before, apologies, chat, for. Why is this acting up? It hasn't been an issue all day up until now. This is so strange. Once again. Can folks still hear me right now?
Yes.
Yep.
I do not understand why is this acting up all of a sudden. Hear me again?
Yep.
Okay. This may be a rare instance in which I shut off the video for just this session because it seems to be causing issues.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Can folks still hear me?
You have a group my point, but I can't hear you.
Hey everyone, just as a note, we're having some technical issues with the stream right now, so please just
Yeah,
take it to
I think it's for the best.
That's okay, and we'll be back in just a minute once we've sorted all that out.
Okay, thank you everyone who has been sticking with us through the technical difficulties. A move to Seattle is not a small task to undertake, including when internet does not want to cooperate with you. But just to sort of finish up our little bit of intro stuff, again, if you want to get involved with supporting the community most directly, Patreon, get involved with that. If you want to become a part of the community and chat with a lot of amazing folks like myself and our wonderful players here, type !Discord in chat. Welcome to the party. We are an amazing group. We love so many different people, and you get an affirmative bunch like myself and our wonderful players to interact with. So be certain to join that if you're interested. And so before we get into the full recap, I'm going to go do a quick round of our players who are here. Sadly, our delightful bard Fiendlock will not be joining us this evening. He has had a sudden home life catastrophe related to flooding. So we love you, Paya and Jojiro. We love you so much. I'm sorry you can't join us this evening, but hey, we have a wonderful crew of players who are going to be here, including our guest player, who is joining us for the session, and perhaps again in the future? Question mark. We will see. But on that note, I'm gonna start it off with our delightful Lily. Why don't you, miss, again, what you're playing, who you are, and stuff, basics of introducing yourself.
Hello, I am Lily, and I play Bo, who is a wild hunt shifter barbarian.
And unofficial gnome and halfling whisperer of the group.
Somehow that has become her brand, yes.
All right. Secondly, our delightful knowledge boy / fire ganassi extraordinaire, Aletta.
Hey, I'm Aletta. I play a Seralath, a Fire Ganassi knowledge cleric.
Wonderful. Our yeeting quarterstaff lore wizard extraordinaire, Marion.
Hi, I play Dee, Paya's sibling, and a lore wizard hobgoblin.
Who is in no way obsessed with new shinies by any
Oh,
means.
very obsessed with new Chinese.
And of course, our last but not least, our guest player who's going to be joining us, John.
Wow, I just completely lost track of what I was going to say. Whew. So I'm John, also Ryamasa on Twitter, RY0MASA, and I'm playing Kala, a really generic human fighter, because that's like not the most biggest combination on D&D possible. But he was a mercenary with a penchant for card tricks and trying to make everyone's day a little brighter.
A regular ray of sunshine amidst a group of outcasts escaping a cult. You're going to fit in. You're going to do great, kid. You're going to do great. But
I go where I'm needed.
Go where you're needed. And it would seem you are needed. You are needed in this hour. You are needed. But with intros out of the way, we can sort of get into our recap and start playing again. So as a recap of the last episode, the group, having successfully traversed through the cavernous location beneath the well among one section of the southern halfling haven known as Avis, recovered a magical item of great renown and power known as an Ignis shard, and was given a variety of different messages leading them in a lot of possible directions across the continent of Agni. As a result, the party, taking some time, processing, sharing different things, and interacting with different folks, some coming to know a new, perhaps friend, tiefling, young child companion, and others just sort of like kind of along for the ride and just going to see what happens. Eventually ended up deciding to head north along the trading route that would lead them most directly, passing along two of the main terrains of the continent, north towards the region of Chantico. We ended last session with about a day or two into this travel with a rather curious feline merchant having come upon the group by the name of Kitachi, a tabaxi merchant of some kind who left the party with an amusing offer of, if you have coin, Kitachi has wares. So, wonderful party. We start off again with Kitachi in front of the whole group, dressed resplendently in very relatively simple wear, a rather gleaming, almost impish smile upon their face, and also mentioning, are you in need of some accompaniment or some travel as you happen to move through? Do you need entertainment, food, snacks, a joke or two? What can I offer all of you weary travelers?
What wares do you have, my friend?
Oh, my simple hobgoblin friend, I have many wares, many of entertainment, many of brew, and perhaps entertainment and companionship of another kind, should you seek it. if that is of your interest. But it depends how much coin you have. In any
So
case,
companionship requires coin if I understand this correctly.
if you would like companionship, that is, I have friends who are more than willing to help you in those matters. But if you also are just looking for another friend or additional person to travel with you, there is one more. There is another who I recently took upon to help give him a lift as I was heading north. What is your name? Mala, Sala? What is it? What is your
Kala,
name?
Kala, that was close though.
My apologies. I forget the names. I have so many different things I'm keeping track of. But here, come out of the cart. Why don't you introduce yourselves? These people seem lovely. And Kala, if you would like to. Kataji just very enthusiastically just sort of gestures out to the front of this. Imagine kind of like almost like a frontier kind of huge canopy sort of like covered wagon kind of thing, where you're like covered in shadow for a second, but like right as you step out, like they get a full view of you. And what do they see when you step out of the cart?
So Kala is about 5'11", 6 feet, with brown hair, and is really tan, has a couple of scars kind of visible on their face, but in a manner suggesting they probably have a lot more other places. They're wearing, pretty, like, very well worn and used armor, and they have a sort of a shield and a short sword kind of on their belts and on their arm. But they're, for someone who looks like the stereotypical mercenary or like a soldier who's just come home, they look very happy. Of all things, they're just they're there, they're content. So Kala steps out of the covered wagon, looks at everyone and says, "Oh, well, I didn't expect to get foisted off like that, but
I'm not foisting you off. I'm just offering you a chance to see people. You seem like such a charming person."
I did ask if there are people around that maybe I could that maybe we're traveling in a direction, but I didn't expect it to happen so fast.
Oh, well, you have to have more faith in Katachi. I find people, I get them entertainment, I get them food, and I get them jokes. This is what I do best.
Very clearly. So where are you all heading?
Northward?
Okay, north is a start.
Yeah, we don't really have like a set destination at this point. We're going toward Chantico.
Any particular reason? Or just, having a destination in mind, that's a pretty specific place.
There's things. You said something about wares again. Like, do you have anything, say, someone of arcane nature could use? And I sort of do a little prestidigitation.
Oh, my hobgoblin friend. Oh, my. You're in for a treat. I only bring this out for folks of a special nature.
Oh, hello, friend. As I sort of acknowledge Kala's presence.
Kala sort of kind of cheekily, whatever the hand motion you did for presentation, sort of repeats it back at you, and like a Jack of Hearts appears in his hand, he sort of holds it out. Hello, friend.
That's impressive.
It's not that hard. It just takes a little bit of time, but you learn it pretty quick. Sort of holds out the card to you.
I take it and I examine it for like magical. It's like, can I have this for about 11 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can keep it if you want to. I've got plenty.
You see a deck of cards explode out of his pockets after a couple of minutes. But in response to your question, Didi, Katashi, you just sort of see them start rooting around their pockets. You start like taking out what looks like, for the most part, a bunch of like junk. It's just like a spoon, fork. Oh, that was a nice flower. I should have planted that seed. Cards. No, not that one. Not that. Nope. Oh, that was a good one. I should have used that one. They toss out a card and you see an image of a dwarf appear in front of you, just at random. And then all of a sudden they're like, here we go. And you see them pull out what appears to be a very nice, finely crafted set of, it almost looks like a jade orb that Dee Dee, I feel like given your extremely high intelligence and experience with arcane related works, you know this is probably some focus of some kind. Watch as the master is at work. And they start doing like these gestures, like all of a sudden, and they do a bunch of complicated movements. But then at the end of it, they're like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. I'm too old to be doing all of this song and dance. And then they just go, and it almost looks like if someone were pressing a button on like an elevator.
Yep.
But it's almost like they press the button in the middle of like the ether itself. You just see a massive tear within the planes just happen right in front of you. Step in and take a look at my wares.
Is this common? Like, it's not.
No,
like,
it is not.
I
This
don't
is-
know what Dee Dee thinks about it. Like, oh hey, here's this van. Step into the car. Step into this van, kiddo. It's just slight. If this is not a common thing, so it's like, where does this go to?
It's a demiplane. I thought you were one of arcane practice. I thought you would recognize what a demiplane looks like.
We just had to deal with demiplanes and they weren't so good. So forgive me if I'm just a little cautious about going into an unknown rift.
Oh, fine, cowards. They just start sticking their hand in and out of the demiplane, and they pull out what looks like a set of like platinum, then a large jar, then what looks like an old book.
Carlos, like, I've been in there for what it's worth. They had a very nice selection of playing cards.
See, this one knows how to
Like
respect.
looks at Dee Dee and then like looks at that person and then like back and forth, and it's just like, Dee Dee, can you do that?
At some point, I mean, that's like, we're talking at like PhD level of magic. So I'm still in my undergrad right now. I've had to defer a term or 20.
Which Bo like doesn't understand that at all, but she's like, oh, okay.
Bo's just like, this is fucking cool.
Like, sure.
Okay, fine.
PhD
book?
undergrad.
Arcane terminology is a strange thing to introduce into the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hitachi just walks in. They're just enjoying themselves.
I follow reluctantly.
Does anyone else go in?
I'll go in.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go too.
Yeah, you walk in and
I was
it's-
like, whoa.
it very much feels like you just walk through the door of any other building, except what you walk into is a rather opulently decorated, almost merchant sort of store. But it seems to have a theme of air to it throughout all of it. Air and fire. There's like almost like living vines of flame wrapped around bits of the wall, just curdling up the sides of it. There's bits of little almost wispy clouds. Like imagine like if any of you ever had the glow up stars you could stick on your ceiling. Imagine those, but little like cloud designs all across the ceiling. And occasionally they'll like rub their hands together and they'll like point at one on the ceiling. And I love you, Azerla. They just point at the ceiling, and occasionally a little bit of like wreathed fiery cloud pops up, and there's just a very simple like wooden, like not shelf, I'm forgetting what it is, counter, that's the word I was looking for, counter just right in front of it. So magical armor, weapons, books, joke things, food.
Kala turns to the party and is like, I did tell them it's a little ostentatious, but I mean, aesthetic is aesthetic, right?
Of course, you are a man of substance. You understand when a person needs to have a bit of pizzazz in their life. See?
I will admit, this is very impressive. I'm glad I did this.
DJ's just having like 3 days of like, I've had so much magic shit happen to me in the past couple of days. I don't know what to do. what do I do? But yeah. And Azerlath, you actually Azerlath, roll me an Arcana check, and I'm gonna say for you, roll me at an advantage.
Okay. Just a second.
Either Arcana or History, whichever one you would prefer to use.
Okay.
Wow, that is
Oh.
that's so I'll say something about this feels very familiar to you. You know that it's something related to the elements, but you have no idea what it is. But something you're having that feeling of like, I can't remember the word for this, but something about this strikes me as rather interesting. And I'd say Didi, roll me an Arcana check, but no advantage, because this is within a realm that you might have studied elements of this, but
I mean,
this.
I'm like, any lore check, I'm probably gonna be good at that.
Whereas, so sort of the way I'll describe it is, Azerlath, you come to the thought about 30 seconds after Didi does. You've heard tell of an occasional spirit from another plane, typically an elemental spirit of some kind, that is known to harness the elements and shape at times little demi-planes up to their own will. And you tend to think this must be someone of either an air or fire bent who's probably reconfigured a pocket of elemental energy into their own demi-plane. And from the looks of the ostentatious decoration, probably turned it in their own personal vending spot. But yes.
I am so impressed now. And I say, oh, what was that book you had shown earlier when you were trying to convince me? Really old looking book?
Oh, this. It is not of much significance. It was a joke book that I use every now and then. Let me see if I can remember. I believe his name was left by some wizard by the name of Barnabas or something of that sort. I think he used to go off. He might have had a brother. Maybe it was his brother Wrigley. I forget. He went off to the circus or something of that sort later on. But he left a book that it caused a bit of havoc whenever people were picking it up, because they would read the text and they would try and read the spells. They would try and inscribe them, try and use them for their own purposes, and the effects that they would cause would not be quite exactly what they had hoped they would be.
The minute you say spells, like dish plates for eyes. I say, well, I mean, if it's not worth anything, perhaps I can take it off your hand for something.
Oh, it's worth something, but it's not worth that much, if I'm being perfectly honest. I mean, look at this. Create undead. It's supposed to be a fun spell. It should give you a spooky skeleton friend, oh man. But look what it does. You see her like read the arcane runes, and you see two skeletons pop up in front of you. They're just doing one of these the entire time. They're just dancing in front of the group. See? The mistranslation, because the person was lazy with their writing. It now creates fun dead. Look at this. Look at this.
That is hilarious.
I so want that book, but I'm trying, like I have the most poker face, like I'm about to try to haggle, sort of a thing. And I say, well, if there's something, let me help you take that off your hands.
Also, you're a cleric, right?
Yes.
You're the healing type, or you do, and also the learning. Huh. Your garb appears to be of the learning type as well. You might get amusement out of this. But look, see this one? It shows you the runes that you recognize as not something you can cast necessarily at this time, but very soon. That should be the runic scripture for a mass healing word. It's like, look at this. Look at this ridiculousness. reads out the words which you recognize in Celestial, should translate out to mass healing word. When they speak it, you see a pound of sausages just appear in front of you. See, look what has happened. Mass healing verse. What the hell is a verse? What is this ridiculous sausage?
And Kala just looks at this giant pile of stuff. Like, Kala does not have any idea what is happening. Like, people are just testing out magic that makes no sense to him. And we're like, what the hell is the verse? Just looks deadpan at the sausage, looks back, and goes, it appears to be some kind of sausage.
It's meat. I don't even like meat. I don't even like eating any of this crap. It's just like
And
sort of...
I hold the book before it hits whatever surface you're banging it against.
You like have to stop them from like just like banging the book against the counter. And
Yeah.
It's a joke book. You might get something of substance out of it later, but it doesn't really have anything of use. I parted it for about 10 gold, if I'm being honest.
How about 10 gold and star sapphire?
If ever you could see imagine a cat doing a full wide-eye glance, they're like, you have star sapphires?
Currently, it's safer to travel with that. They're small, easy to hide, versus
How many star sapphires do you have?
Some. Do you have in mind, my friend?
If you give me 5 gold and star sapphires, I will literally give you a hug and a kiss and give you the book.
Okay.
Your poker face went out the window.
Why not?
I pull out the small little 5 gold.
You have a bag of star sapphires?
Yeah.
Oh, my hobgoblin friend. It starts doing like a full-on like coming next to you and embracing you.
I'm very careful with that star sapphire bag.
No. You see there and very good too that you did, because I'd say probably Kala, you're probably most used to this given your penchant for card tricks and such. You start seeing their hands start very so casually trying to go to look into the bag. And I'm imagining Dee Dee's doing like the abuelita thing where they're like, no. No.
Bag.
It's like, "Meow. Fine. I'll get more out of it. Here,
Well-
here's a joke book. Give me the star sapphire. Give me the sapphire.
I give you a 5 gold piece.
It's so pretty. It makes me so happy. I haven't seen one of these since I was a child. It's so cute. They're like creating a little kid with like a teddy bear, and they're just like so happy. It's like, for you, because you're giving me a star sapphire, 20% discount off of everything, because I have not seen any of these in ages. I am so happy. I'm so happy.
I almost. I don't want to spend too much time shopping because I actually want to adventure with everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
But I will say, if there is anything within the range of like basic equipment, armor, what have you, amongst the group that you would like, or weaponry, I already have a list pulled up. I know that there was that one of you I might have mentioned before, studded leather armor and spell books and materials for transcribing things. You could probably get the scrolls and paper that would get you to transcribe. I believe you have like 2 spells available, Dee Dee. It would cost you about 150 gold at the reduced price to be able to have enough materials to transcribe the 2 first level spells I think you have. I think you have like 2 first level, or like 1 first level and like a second level. You
no,
could either...
I only have a second level spell that is
Okay.
half learned.
Okay, then that one will be at the reduced price of 100, and because that will be at 100 to get the materials to finish that one. There is studded leather armor available that I believe you, Azerlath, and Baya could pick up for a combined price of about 150 for the whole thing, but with the reduced price, that's going to be about 120. So let's just cap it off at like about 250, 270 for the entire bit for the spell component materials. And I know that Dee Dee, you had talked out a game with me about a ink producing plants.
Yep.
Because you started off by showing the star sapphires, you led with that, you see Kataji with their tail slinks it around the back of the counter and pulls up a very tiny little pot. It is very tiny. It is like this big. And there is a tiny little sproutling coming out of it. But they say, here. And you're points at Azerlath. You're the bookish type, correct?
Correct.
Here, you would enjoy this as well. And are those maps in your bag? Are those maps or cartography supplies in your bag?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you will most definitely like this. Here. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Quickly. They gesture over your finger, and it's barely sprouted. Like it's only got like a couple of leaves on it. But when you poke it, it has I don't know if anyone's ever read the 6th Harry Potter book where it described when you squish a certain kind of bean with the side of a dagger, it like explodes juice out of it. It has that effect, but imagine that on a leaf, exploding ink out of it, and it's magical ink.
Ooh.
This is a rare find. It took me 30 years to cultivate it, but I will part with it if you are willing to give me about 130 in star sapphires. It will generate ink whenever you need it, but it will only do it once a day. And it will do it for perhaps, I'll say out of character mechanically, it'll do up to a 2nd level spell on a 1 day. If you want to do higher level spells, you'll have to wait and build up like in levels, 2 levels worth each day in order to get the materials. And the paper you'll still have to get separate, but it will produce it for you, but you have to take care of the plant.
Yep.
But this thing at base starts at 130.
I only have 65.
Yes. So the total cost, if we're getting armor for everyone and the joke book and everything, it will be about, let's say, 300, 350 gold for everything. That means like studded leather armor for 3 of you. That includes the sproutling plant, the joke book, and the materials for transcribing the spells.
I can't speak for Paya's Star Sapphires, especially since Ant's not here.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have 65 gold worth of Star Sapphire. Unless someone chips in, I won't be able to purchase.
I'm not really planning on buying things. I have 135.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can have mine also because Bo don't need armor.
Yeah, I
Oh,
already have leather armor.
I'm not getting armor, so
okay, so that's 90, that's at least 90 off of it. And if we don't know for ants, so that's 100 and we'll just say 30, 35. So that'll knock the price down to about 270 for all the spell materials and the plant and the joke book.
well, I can give 65. I think I'm okay for like spell materials at the moment.
Okay.
So it would just be the plant for me.
Okay, so that would be about 130 gold. I would say DD, because you made such a good impression, roll me a persuasion check at advantage just to see what happens. We'll see if this adds any additional effect to it.
Ooh,
Jesus, you crits!
That is
This is that moment where
Very
the DM realizes they gave you a bunch of shit very quickly and easily, but I don't care because I like giving y'all stuff without too much trouble. They'll knock it down to I think I said it was 100. It was 270 for all those materials.
Just had to open the bag of shinies and like bartering just went out the window.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. Basically, that you just it's a tabaxi. Tabaxis really like shiny things. Kitashi has a very big soft spot for the shinies. They're very pretty. Shinies are a girl's best friend. They're a tabaxi's best friend.
Oh, by the way, the 65 gold is minus the 5 I'd already spent for the joke book.
Okay, I would say with what you have available, we'll just cut it. We'll cap it at 100 between the two of you. You and Zarelaf can figure that out.
Okay.
You get the plant, and you have your material and the joke book. That way, we're not spending too much time on just bartering sort of stuff.
Yeah, we'll do that in
And-
the break, I think.
Okay.
Yes, we'll figure out more of those details later.
Yeah.
But Kitachi will sort of do that, and we'll also turn to the whole party. So, you've brought me delightful shinies. Would any of you care for drink, food, anything of those sorts of things? I've been led to believe mortals like these kinds of things. Oh, shh, let that one slip. You didn't hear that.
Hear what?
Exactly. But yes, would you care for drink, food, anything of the sort? I have alcohol, things of that sort.
I'm good. But my friends,
I'll take a brandy if you have it.
Fair enough. So you see them wave. They look like they're very like determinedly about to do the hand gestures, and then they're like, "Why do I always do this? I'm too tired for this shit." They just trace their fingers. It almost looks like they're inputting a code into the ether, like they're putting in a passcode into a lock, and then they're just like in the middle of the middle of the air. You just see it's almost like imagine a comic book artist just like did a sketch panel in the middle of it, and you just hear like a and you hear a safe open, and like, here, finest bottle of brandy.
Kala takes the bottle, was not expecting a bottle.
You're not getting all of it. You're going to be sharing that with me. I have shinies to celebrate.
Fair. Kala pulls like 2 mugs out from their backpack and starts pouring.
My very delightful and very muscly friend, would you care for a drink or food of any kind?
I'm a little peckish. I mean, I could, maybe eat like a snack, like, a plate of sausages and mashed potatoes, maybe like a melon, a couple of mugs of beer, this is something small.
They're just looking at you, just focusing intently on you, and they're just sort of like half-heartedly like drawing things in the air, and you're just seeing like all of the food that you're describing coming up perfectly. But you see it in the following presentation. You see a giant passion fruit appear out of nowhere and just land in your hand. You see a mug full of very nice frothy ale, and also in case they made the assumption that in case you didn't drink, they also made a nice juice form of passion fruit juice right next to it. They gave you a sandwich that is filled with what appears to be almost kind of like pickled carrots, onions. Imagine sort of like daikon mixed with like nice grilled Wurst sausages in a sandwich. And they just sort of start handing it over to you. Are you a soup person or are you not a soup person?
I'm an everything that is edible person.
Oh, good. Then that means I can actually use that beef bone for something. You just see them go behind, like they just jump behind the counter with like their legs up. They're like digging through the bottom of like a container. They're like, chicken bone, chicken bone, chicken bone. Oh, that's a lamb eye. I don't know how that got there. Toss that out. Lamb eye, chicken bone, chicken bone. Ah, beef bone. There it is. And you
are
see
they
them
dumpster diving?
dumpster diving in their own shop and pulling out materials. Didi, you've heard of some folks, especially from certain bardic and druidic schools, who they sort of, out of character, they homebrewed their own spells, and you've heard of some folks who did like independent study on creating like home ec or like homebrew cooking style spells, which the material components for different dishes are like a baseline ingredient that cements the whole dish. So they're like, haha, found a beef bone. Here it is. Been wanting to make this soup for company for ages, and I haven't had the chance. See them pull out a pot out of nowhere. Again, half of these things, they're either drawing them or just reaching behind the counter, and there's suddenly a giant soup pot there in front of you. Are any of you
Those
allergic?
eyes are like really wide, like beef bone soup.
Part of me is now slightly concerned as I feel like, oh yeah, that early Arcana check. I think I know who this is, kind of, and now I'm even more sort of like big wide eyes.
They put the beef bone in the soup, and you see it's not quite like green, like murky kind of color, but you smell a really rich, warm, almost kind of stew come out of it, and you see little bits of like white grain, potatoes, a little strip, and not just in like full rounds, but little strips of almost fried, almost French fries, and little bits of chunks of beef. And you smell a very distinct, all of a sudden as well, an overtone of peanut. And it's like, haha, I have traveled over to Warrior's Downfall, and I got this soup from the mountains ages ago, and I never gotten to cook it for anybody. Here, what was the name of it? Sopa mani. I forget the name of it. Sopa de mani or something like that. Here, just put it on the counter. They're like, here, bowls for all of you. You've provided me the shiniest, therefore, I must give you food fit for such delightful guest.
I sit down and eagerly try it.
Bo like reverently is like, thank you. Thank you.
This is a very odd question, and it might seem very forward, but do you like bones too? She's like sort of just staring like, I realize that might come up as offensive, but you don't smell entirely human, and I get the impression you have wild sight as well. Do you care for bone?
I would really like a bone, yes.
Okay, give me one moment. Jumps behind the counter again, reaches through, and finds a long, like, beef bone. And they're like, here. And yeah.
Is there marrow in it?
Yes.
Oh.
Bo like holds out both her hands and like takes the bone, like, and then is like, I'm gonna save this for later, and sticks it in her pack.
So yeah, basically, sort of to keep that going, you get fed a very delightful meal, very rich, very filling. You get all the items, and then you're just like, all right, I've enjoyed your company for long enough. I will say goodbye, and I will head my way back onto Avis. I was going to be heading north, but now I have shinies, and I've been told that Avis has some delightful things I can buy, and halflings. I love interacting with halflings. They're such delightful people. They've never treated me terribly. But again, perhaps I will see you another day. Enjoy yourselves.
Did we just get booted summarily?
Kind of. Like there's a moment where like they just clap their hands. They're just like, they've been incredibly gracious and enjoyed your company. And then they're like, yes, I am tired of your company now. Be off. Should you ever need Kitashi, you will find me soon enough. A Jin never goes back on their word. Oh, oops, I let slip. Once again, I let slip. And then you just feel like the softest little like beds of clouds that look like little streams of fire around them, just like slowly but surely like carry you off and leave you right on the road that you were on before.
Has time passed?
Nope.
Wow. Well, hello, friend. I thought you were traveling with Kitaji, but I guess you're traveling with us now.
I mean, I was heading north anyway, but as they were, but apparently they're not anymore. So this works out better for me anyway.
You hear calling from somewhere that feels way too echoey to make sense for where you're at. You just hear Kitachi's voice one more time say, "They gave me shinies. What did you expect? Expect."
Kala just looks like in the distance where the rapidly retreating echo of Kitachi's voice is coming from. You know, for a Jin, they were very much a cat. Anyways.
So yeah, you can continue on with your day of travel. You as we move along, if you'd like any time to chat with each other, perfectly happy to give that, or I can give you a sense of what you're passing along as we're carrying on in our journey. It's up to you.
I am personally, we can chat on the road and stuff like that, but I don't have. I guess I would spend some time as part of my downtime, like when we're resting for the evening, to finish transcribing the one spell I have.
Okay. As you move through this day, the weather and terrain shifts not quite suddenly, but there is a very notable contrast between the sort of area that you were in the south as you're starting to head north more towards the center of the continent, whereas the ground around you was rich, vibrant with life, a kind of softness to the earth and a well-tended sort of grazed feeling to everything around it. You start moving forward into terrain that it feels like a very odd in-between spot between what the start of a desert and a wide open plains would be. The ground is not quite ruined, but there's something very desiccated about it. It's a deep, light brown. The dirt sort of sinks beneath you, but not quite as deeply as sand. The sun is not intense or overwhelming, but depending on if you walk a little bit to the left of the road, it suddenly starts to feel a little bit more humid. You walk to the right of the road, you start feeling a wind along your back. And the road carries on like this for quite some time, but you travel a full day without really any incident at all. And probably the main landmark you're able to pass by as you're starting to head north, starting to tire and probably setting up for the evening, is you see tall, we're talking probably like 7, 8 stories tall monolith, like sort of obelisk. Just think almost like Washington Monument of sort of a pointing up rectangular 3-dimensional design with a pyramidal top to it of just pure black obsidian, almost stone, with various runic carvings all around it, and a very prominent in the center of it symbol of what appears to be an hourglass just held up, and near the top on the sides of it there's black gray wings depicted in the sort of artwork around it.
That's not ominous at all.
Do I recognize the significance of any of that?
I would say for anyone who is interested in seeing if they know anything about it, you would need to roll me a religion check or a history check.
History for me.
History.
I'll roll religion. Why not?
Oh, actually, I'm proficient.
Wow. That's not bad.
What is with this group today? All have they had like 3 crits in the span of the first hour.
It's okay. It just means if we ever fight something, we're going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, that's how that goes. But I would say 15 is also enough to get the general information.
Yeah,
Oh, but
like that. Yeah, okay. I mean, that makes sense. Like, I wasn't even gonna roll it first, and then I was like, "What the hell? I'll just do it."
Bo was like, I could do this history check, or I can remember I have a bone in my backpack like
Yes,
right now.
exactly.
I
Right?
feel like that's the thing, is that like you were gonna think about it for a second, then you're like, man, I got this fucking long ass bone that
Rich marrow.
it's just like
Eat it now, but I can save it for later.
make multiple stews with it later, or I could just eat it all now. Both are valid options. But I'll say Azerla, so I'll start with what you're able to pick up, and then I'll add some additional details that Kala is able to pick up. So you recognize this definitively as the symbol of a deity known as Chronepsis, often given the moniker the Watcher, a dragon deity said to be a god of fate, or at least some sort of deity of fate and time. The most, if ever there were such a thing as alignment that made sense that of what it would mean to have a purely neutral being, Chronepsis would be that being as a deity. And Chronepsis, within the span of Agni's sort of rebirth cycle, has a particular significance. During the first smothering, during the rebellion of many betrayer gods who attempted to withhold the power of the divine bird Ignis itself. Chronepsis was one of the first to sort of, again, being a sort of neutral inclined being, didn't really want to get involved, but as a result of choosing passivity, in a way, made their moral decision of just not helping. And as punishment, Ignis made them be one of two gods alongside the wounded god known as Ilmater to watch over the rebirth cycle. The messengers of Chronepsis, often humanoid, draconic-like angels, would come in the weeks leading up to the end of one cycle and the start of a new cycle and welcome the arrival of the body falling to Agni. So these are, since the time of the second smothering, monuments that have fallen out of favor, in part because part of what initiated the second smothering's coming was when that big moment of the cycle has been halted occurred, the events leading up to it were of sickly forms of the draconic messengers of Chronepsis coming to Agni, being witnessed by many, and then passing away. So this is a rather, if not holy, it's a place of great significance to the history of Agni, but it's one that is not common anymore. And I would say for the check that you got, Kala, you would know that oftentimes these messengers, if interacted with, were known to be messengers of fate and of time, that people would tell legends and tales that to interact with one would be to gain a glimpse into the future, a glimpse into perhaps one's own destiny. So yeah, you have stumbled by a monument to a deity that was once highly praised, or at least important to the rebirth cycle, but no longer has any favor and is forgotten at this point in time.
Should we check it out?
I feel kind of bad about that entire statement because Kala takes all that information that they know and parses it down to, maybe it was fate we met on the road. That's it.
I love Kala so much already. You are a small bean of joy, and I want them to live.
I mean, Bo kind of takes all that in and then is like, I'm pretty sure Dee Dee paid attention to all of that, and this is something that she might really get and they would really get and be interested in.
Yeah, I'm down to explore weird old ruins.
I mean, it's not so much like a full-on ruins. It's just like one singular monument that's left. It's just standing in the midst alongside the road. There just appear to be runic carvings along the side of it.
We should totally do that.
Yeah. Dee Dee, Azerlath, do you get closer to it?
Yeah.
As you do, you notice very faintly there's just a slight glow around the hourglass insignia.
I would like to ritual gas detect magic and then focus on the hourglass.
Okay. As you do, there is very faint. It's strange. It almost seems like it's a mix of divination and transmutation schools of magic. There's not quite a clear delineation between the two. It's almost like they're being mixed back and forth.
Interesting. And I say that out loud to Azerlath.
Is this like affect something all of us can see, or just Dee Dee?
Yeah, because Dee Dee and Azerlath got closer, they were able to notice it more distinctly. But if they like take the time, they're like, hey, look, then all of you can notice it. It was just more like they got closer because of their interest and noticed it first. And especially with Dee Dee casting it, you're fully aware of this effect happening right now.
Yeah, and I just talk out loud. I'm not particularly being secretive or anything of that sort. I'm almost like in this, like when an archaeologist comes across something and they're just talking loudly about what they're discovering as they're discovering it. I'm just like in total like discovery, like, oh, and then there's like divination magic.
Oh, you're Evie from the Mummy.
Yeah, basically. and look at how they're entwined together. Oh, the only time I've seen it is again like these PhD students. Oh man, the one time I got to hang out with them, I understood like a fraction of what they said, but then they were talking about how you can take these magic and put them together, and I start using really obscure terminology at this point that possibly Azerlath might be the only one who kind of gets the gist of it.
Yeah, so you probably would understand it, but out of character, because I have to say it, when you started that thread, I literally thought, like, I talked to some guys who said that you could go to weird places with magic. I'm like, did Didi do shrooms with PhD students or something?
I mean, look, you gotta survive grad school somehow, right? Like,
I was an undergrad that got
real.
to hang out with like PhD students, okay?
That's too real. It's too real. John, it's too real.
with the yeah, seriously. With the religion check Kala made, does Kala know anything about what, like, if you were going to leave like an offering for this god, like what kind of things you would leave at a shrine or some kind of thing?
Oddly enough, sand, which I believe for some calligraphers kind of supplies and writing supplies is still used sort of to, like to dry out the ink. And oftentimes any sort of device that's used to sort of keep time, so it might be like personalized watches. Oftentimes, I'd say Kala, you would know this, and perhaps Didi with the 1 point higher in history would know this as well. A common practice of a lot of followers of Chronepsis is to actually keep an hourglass of some kind on their person as a way of reminding themselves of when the time of their death is approaching. It was sort of seen a lot of, they have a very like almost existentially without the angsty edgy boyness to it approach of looking at their own lives of like we just see it, our lives pass, that is it. We do things, we maybe try and do good intentions and hold on, but ultimately all things will die. We have no real attachment to that. They're very detached without the like edgelord capacity of it.
Okay.
So when we were playing charades, we were using holy symbols?
Yes.
So Kala goes, I noticed you do to Didi, I noticed you have some rain. You don't happen to have some sand on you, by chance, do you?
Actually, I do. Hold on. And I go and I pull it out, and the sand looks fairly gray to black, like it's been used to mop up a lot of like drying ink.
Do you mind if I take some of that? I can't really give it back, but
Sure. How much do you need?
just a little bit.
Okay, and I just hand whatever small amount.
Kala sort of takes the sand and then sort of very sort of personally sprinkles it. So like the way I'm picturing what you described is like it's like there's like an obelisk, but is there like a little like sort of like a little like a base block at the bottom that extends a little
Yeah.
bit?
Like it sort of has a base block that imagine like when people do like in memoriam sort of monuments, there's like little like slight stone steps or like a little section where like the plaque is standing in front of it. There's like a little like incline to it with like 1 or 2 steps to walk up to it. It's like it's formally like has its own set and foundation and monument, but most of the space is taken up by the actual long-standing obelisk itself.
So Kala sort of walks around the obelisk, sort of sprinkles the sand kind of in a fine layer around the perimeter of this obelisk, and then sort of sits and sort of then takes like then sort of kneels down by the shrine and sort of like clasps their hand for like long enough to be respectful, but not long enough to necessarily indicate that they follow Chronepsis at all. But then they sort of stand back up and take a step back.
Okay.
Are you a follower?
No, I just things that gods fall in and out of favor, but I don't think anyone deserves to be forgotten. So I try to pay respect for what they did where I can.
Okay.
I agree with you, except for when those that try to use mortals to ascend to godhood. those should be forgotten. And I give a very knowing look to Baya, who's somewhere in the background.
I think that's reasonable. I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but it sounds like you had a time.
If no one else does anything to interact with the monument, evening comes. This is because all of this is happening roughly at right about as dusk is starting to kick in, and you're able to set up. Do folks like make like a bonfire or anything of that sort? Do you have like, because I'm pretty sure most of you have bedrolls, or if not, Katachi might have just thrown that in as well.
No idea if I have that.
I've got,
I do have a bedroll.
and I'm going to take the tinder and just make a fire.
Okay. Didi, so you said you were trying to do some of the spells from the joke book while you're sort of resting down after, and then I'm guessing this is after you've inscribed the new spells into your spell.
Yep.
Okay.
But I actually want to see if there's ritual spells from the book. I want to try them out before I try inscribing them.
Okay.
So let me see what I'm capable of that I don't already have. So, or unless you tell me what spells are in there.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Roll me a d6.
Okay.
Okay, 1. Let me pull this up. Oh God. Okay. So you see written in what appears to be very shoddy celestial, like we're talking like person who has never studied a language and is trying to sound like they know how to speak a language that they're very bad at saying.
Yep.
What sounds like it should be celestial. Like you can read it like you're able to take some time, because I think you read a couple of different languages, so I think
I could use comprehend languages to...
Yeah, like you could do something like that, or you could just ask Azerlath. Azerlath, when you see the text, you're like, this is so bad. Like the runic markings are just like so shoddily drawn. They're like very crappily written. Like we're talking like doctor's signature level of like bad writing. But you get the word spectacle transcribed.
And I try to cast it.
Roll me a D100.
Oh.
Okay. Bo, would you mind making me a dexterity saving throw real quick?
Oh, what did you do, Didi?
I don't know. I don't know.
Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, no.
You have a moment where Didi like speaks the word aloud, and it comes like it's said in Celestial, but as Didi utters the word, it gets translated into Common for a weird moment, and then you just hear by your ear, Bo, you start hearing, and you just start seeing little fireworks going off in front of you, and it's very surprising and frightening. Like there's just a moment of you just had little fireworks spill out in front of your face.
Okay.
And you're like, and Didi, it's at this moment that you realize, spectacle. One of the possible translations is causes a spectacle.
Oh, you said spectacle. Bo thought she was getting glasses.
That's what the other if you'd gotten 50 or 51 or higher was. It would have made a spectacle.
And then I just walk right up to you and I'm like, what happened? What did you see?
Fireworks. Fireworks. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Just
Surprising fireworks.
I imagine any surprising spectacle would. I mean,
Right.
By the way, Dee Dee, you do see a very tiny little spark in the top of Bo's head starting to almost catch a light.
I prestidigitate on like snuff it.
Bo, for whatever reason, you smell just the faintest bit of singed hair.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna ask. I'm just gonna say thank you.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm gonna try one last one for the night.
I'm gonna go
30
somewhere
feet away.
Not here.
It's like, I'm going to stay 30 feet away from the blast radius of this next spell, if you don't mind.
Colosse's bow start to back away from where further, and just sort of like looks over, like raises a hand that has like a bread roll in it, and sort of waggles it like, sit over here, there's food, and not that.
And Bo is gonna be like, I'm gonna go talk to our new friend.
Yeah, okay, sure. I'm like not even paying attention. I'm just sort of saying yes to whatever Bo said and not actually hearing it.
Like as Bo goes away, she's like muttering like, she did that and she's still gonna keep reading the book.
Imagining this is now at this point within earshot of Kala. So Kala, you just hear it's not angry, but it's just like, what?
Like what? Kala just like is like Kala at this point I think is stirring like a pot over the fire, has paid no attention to like any of the happening, like looked up when there were fireworks for a second, like reached for the sword and on his belt, and then when it was apparent that there wasn't a threat, just went, okay, all right. And just kind of like Bo kind of comes over muttering. Kala looks at Bo, looks at Dee Dee, and says, mages, right? And then goes back to stirring.
And Bo like gives like a commiserating nod, like, ah.
And to work with them in the company, but they can be a unpredictable sort of folk.
Yeah.
Dee Dee, roll me, if you're going to read from the book again, roll me another d6.
Okay.
Eating it popcorn or something? I feel like I should have popcorn.
Okay. I was kind of hoping that you would get this one.
Don't read it.
Oh no.
So
that's not good when the DM says that.
So here's what happens. Dee Dee, you read this, and so you feel a force emanate out from you. Once again, this one actually you find read in the script of Goblin, but once again, very shoddily written Goblin. Like, Goblin, like in its best forms, can actually be quite beautiful script, but a lot of like common Goblin is just like folks don't really have the time, or a lot of Goblin groups, since they tend to wander a lot, it's not really like calligraphy and like literary style of their language isn't really a thing a lot of them focus on, but you knew some folks who worked on it. And this is shitty Goblin. Like, it's not well written, and the translation doesn't really work out that well. Like, when you try and say some of the words, Baya is like doing one of these, like, just it's like smells bad. That's
Goblin, and I now have the same face as Azerlath with the Celestial.
And you feel this emanating force around you, just a little zone around you that what's on Dee Dee's mind right now? Like, what's a very private thought that Dee Dee has that Dee Dee does not want to share with people?
Definitely that for a very long time, they are actually interested in a person.
Do you say that? Do you have a confirmed person's name? Does that person have a
Yes.
name?
It's like, Kala intrigues me. I'd say yes.
You find yourself saying this out loud. And then all of a sudden, emanating from the air, you see a 1 pound bag of what appear to be goblin teeth suddenly appear out of the sky and just beam you across the head.
Okay.
You read the poorly translated goblin and you see that the spell that you know from overhearing some clerics and mages talk back at the academy should read Zone of Truth. And it appears to read Zone of Tooth. It would appear as though someone experimented with trying to turn a divination-inclined spell into a conjuration spell, and this is the result.
I, after that, shut the book and sort of go in the opposite side of the camp, because now I'm maybe just a little red and blushing and sort of anxiously looking in the direction of where Bo and Kala is, see if they heard anything.
Did we hear that?
Kala, roll me a perception check. Bo, also roll me a perception.
Question.
Okay.
Passive perception of 20. Do I even need to be trying?
You have a passive perception? How did you get
What
a passive
the heck?
perception of 20, you motherfucker?
I have observed feet.
Okay,
Oh.
that makes sense. You hear this for certain in that case.
Okay. Does
Wait, I'm gonna do one just
a good
real
job
quick.
of
Just because this is
not
funny.
looking like he heard anything.
Yeah, I'd say that's enough. Bo, you also heard that statement.
Okay.
Kala just like, so what does Bo do when she hears that?
She's like, truth. Oh, okay.
So when Bo does
Okay.
it, Kala just kind of like looks at Bo with a very obvious like, so it wasn't just me, you also heard that. Like kind of looks vaguely over his shoulder as like Dee Dee like scurries that away. And it's just like, so what's with that one?
And Bo is gonna actually call out to Dee Dee, like, everything okay? Maybe you should put the book down.
No response, and fine, everything's fine.
Kala like looks at where Dee Dee has like Kala like I think heard Dee Dee slam the book and then take off and was like, I think they beat you to that.
Everything's okay. It's fine, Bo says.
Sure. Okay. Like, I mean, I don't want to pry, I just meant, you know, that just happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Azerlath, would you mind rolling me a perception check real quick? For a second, you swear you hear a pair of noises somewhere out in the distance. You hear what sounds like a baby crying, just like a small child. Just it sounds kind of in distress, but after a second, it goes away, and you feel like you don't hear anything, and then you hear another sound. You just hear a very faint.
Yeah, I tell people about that because that sounds bad.
Baby?
You left a baby out here at night. That's terribly irresponsible.
And chick sounds with no.
You don't have a direction for either of the sounds. They're like somewhere in this vicinity. I would say Kala though now, because I did not know you had a passive perception of 20. God damn it! I love observant folks, then I mean I don't have to make you roll perception because I have to roll absurdly high for stealth on that. You start picking up a direction just a little bit. It's like maybe 15, 20 feet away from you from the camp.
Okay, so Kala, like, from, like, what was, like, super amiable and, like, joking about Dee Dee with Bo, like, just goes very quiet, and just, like, the way he's sitting goes from, like, kind of hunched over the campfire to, like, straightened up, kind of leaning back in, like, tension, like, ready to get up if he needs to, and just kind of does, like, one of these to Bo, sitting across him, and then sort of goes to reach and takes one of the sticks that's in the fire, and just kind of turns to see if, and sort of just takes a second to see if he can pinpoint where it's coming, where directions of the sound are, like really where it's coming from.
You take a moment, you focus. Things are quiet all around you. You hear Bo breathing. You hear Zerlath near you. Because I imagine everyone except for Dee Dee and Paya is also relatively close to the campfire. You just quiet everyone down. Just quiet. Very quiet.
The moment Kala hears noise moving, takes the branch and whips it out into the darkness, like a couple feet ahead of where he thinks it's going to be based on how fast it's moving.
Okay, roll me, let's just say a basic attack roll using whatever your preferred weapon is. We'll say it is with proficiency because I think you're trained enough in your own particular skills to allow that in this instance.
You're muted.
Say like a ranged attack?
Yeah, just like a ranged attack. Whatever your preferred ranged weapon attack. So if you have a bow of any kind, just roll for that and we'll see what happens.
19.
Okay. You hear just a little bit ahead of where you expect it to be. You hear a loud screeching noise, very insectoid in its response. And as that happens, Dee Dee, I'd say probably at this point, despite the embarrassment, you would have heard that screech too and would be coming back. Mm-hmm. While everyone is focused more in the direction of where they hear that sound.
Do I see it with dark vision?
You don't see what happens with that. That's not what catches your attention at first. What catches your attention at first, before you start seeing a shadow moving around the group, is the campfire and the light on Kala's hand from what he threw on that stick. The light extinguishes entirely. And I think, given that we are coming close to our break time, I think that is a perfect moment to go to break. Because the last thing you hear is you just hear another screech once the light goes out, and you see a shape just emerge from near the camp. So that's a moment where we're going to go to break.
Ooh. Oh, tension and anticipation.
You didn't think it was going to be all fun, did you?
Oh, the creepypasta, by the way, very creepypasta.
Oh, just wait, just wait, everybody. But we're going to be back, folks, in about, say 10 minutes. So feel free to stay tuned in as our amazing crew of players, joined by our lovely guest, get to encounter whatever this spoopy creature is, because I promise you, it's a scary one. So see you soon, everybody. Back in 10. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us back post-break as we get back into the swing of things with a moment breaking the levity of this wonderfully joyous session as our party before break seemed to have been being trailed by some sort of dark figure around the camp. Kala, having taken the initiative to try and toss some sort of light in the direction of where the creature he was able to hear was, has now prompted this creature to suddenly, what appears to be the light of the area has been all but extinguished. Let me see, where is that? Okay, so we have, yes, we have Zerlath, Bo, Didi, Paya, and Vera. Not Vera, Kala. Trying to remember all the names, everybody. This is hard. DMing is hard. But effectively, I'm moving everyone over to the map right now.
Can I cast Produce Flame now as a cantrip, or do I?
I'll say that's probably the most you're able to get off before initiative. I'm going to need from everybody.
Okay, that would be like an immediate response. Oh, it's dark. Let's.
Yes, no, I feel like that's just enough.
Oh, no.
But I'm going to need from everyone to roll initiative and add it to that.
So would Bo have enough time to rage before we were in?
Yes, I'll let you have that as well.
Okay.
But if y'all can see the token, and I know our producer is handling a lot of details on getting this map size, but you are all roughly like 20, 30 feet away from this thing. The token that I'm using on the screen is not what it actually looks like. I promise. It doesn't look that terrifying. It looks much worse.
That's comforting.
I mean, it depends on who you ask whether or not it looks worse. But I'm going to add this thing's turn. I think it was absurdly high. So we have 4 initiative. Okay, so we have 3, 4, 5. Right now we are just missing Kala's initiative.
Working on this one macro I have to put in.
Okay. You can also just click your character sheet and go to the initiative thing on it after you're clicking your token, which is your ambiguous human token on the board that represents you right now. But I'll say you're all relatively clustered around one another. And with the produced flame, I'll say you're able to roughly make out what this creature looks like. Okay. Let me see, does this? I believe it does. Meant to avoid creature's attack. Okay. All right, so I believe now that we have full... Okay, now I have Kala's initiative as well. I'll add that in real quick. 17, very good initiative. It may help you. Okay, so with the creature, with the produced flame cantrip having been cast by Azeralath, you all are able to see a interesting form standing some distance away from you. While somewhat humanoid in some of its sort of overall structure and shape, the figure is sort of hunched over, but even hunched has roughly about 7.5 feet tall in its height. There's a long, deep black and gray, very tattered, and with a sort of dusty film just falling off of it. Almost looks like not quite feathers, but maybe moth, sort of like leaves and bits falling off of the cloak. And you can't quite see the face currently, but there's these dark, deep red orbs of red where the eyes should be, these massive wings behind it. And from what you can see from its hands and where its feet should be, these talons, three on each for its feet and its hands, razor sharp, and this creature is just staring at all of you.
So we're fighting death claws.
That's one way of putting it. You can't quite see the face. But yes, we'll go with death claws for right now. But so with that having been the case,
I mean, it's
Paya
not
is going to...
claws, it's death claws.
Yep. Baya is going to take the initiative and is going to try and cast Fairy Fire with a spell save DC of 13, and that is a dexterity saving throw. So this creature has that to this, so I get to use my new dice to roll this. However, that's a 2, but it, as a reaction, is going to use Alter Path, which allows it to automatically reroll any failed save twice per day. And it takes its 2 that went to a 6 and it changes it to a 17, which makes it 21. So the Fairy Fire leaves it unaffected. You see this bright purple sort of light emanate out from Baya, but it seems to have no effect on the creature outside of illuminating the area around it. But Baya is gonna just sort of stay back because Baya does not want to get involved with any of this conflict. And now, Dee, it's your turn.
I am going to. I'm just looking at the distance. 60 feet. Good. Cool. I will do Mind Spike. And I will make it a. Ooh. And I will use Spell Secrets, my once per day ability, to force it to make a Charisma saving throw instead of a Wisdom saving throw.
Okay. So it rolls total a 14.
Ha! Fail! I
Okay.
have a 15.
Okay, roll up the damage for it. I believe it's 3d8 for it. And tell me, what does Mind Spike normally do with its effects?
Usually it you reach into the mind of the creature and it has to make a save and takes 3d8 psychic damage on a fail save, or half damage on a successful one. In addition, I always know, as long as they're in the same plane of existence, until the spell ends, which is about an hour, I know the target's location and they cannot be hidden from me. And if they're invisible, they gain no benefit from that against me.
This is what would normally happen against a creature when you cast Mind Spike.
Yep.
However, when you cast Mind Spike and you feel like this sort of penetrating force that goes in and seeps into the mind of this creature, you feel this psychic pulse emanate out as sort of like a backlash wave. And you can't track it. Its mind, for whatever reason, is so frantic and so there's so much static happening that you can't track it.
Does it look like it was hurt?
It was hurt. It took the damage, but well, actually, hold on. Let me double check this thing real quick about that because I don't think it's immune. But you also sense while you're attempting to attack this thing, I'm glad I remembered that, your spell sort of to also flavor that it doesn't seem to be penetrating the divination magic. It's not doing as much damage as you thought it would. I'm glad I caught this resistance.
Usually I'm very good at penetrating minds.
Phrasing. Anyways,
Phrasing.
Penetrating.
And I'm going to move backwards because, so 30 feet back,
okay.
away from that thing here.
Okay. So we'll say you're like right at the edge of the map right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Using 2 of its legendary actions, you see a pulse of red energy release from the eyes and create, effectively think of it like a dark side omega beams to start trailing through the air and latch onto the produced flame that Azerlath has cast. The light snuffed out entirely. The energy gets pulled back into the creature, and you see those sort of psychic energy wounds across some of the cloak slowly start to repair and heal up entirely as it uses consume illumination. So it has gained 20 health points from you doing that.
Pretty much healed up.
Yeah, you actually gave it more health than it started with. So Bo, it's your turn. What you doing?
Okay. I'm doing something. And
I'm doing a thing.
when my turn is over, I do understand that I will probably have to roll up a new character.
I love my players.
Jeez. Bo is moving right up. Wait. How do I get up this arrow? Here we go. Bo is moving right up to this dude. And she is gonna reckless attack while she's raging.
Okay. Do your attacks at advantage.
And then she will die, but it will have been a glorious death.
Potentially, we will see. Maybe not. Jesus. Okay.
Okay.
I see you, barbarian. I see you.
That's the
damage.
first one.
That's the first one. You got 2 hits. That is also going to hit its armor class.
Yay!
Nice.
As Bo, as you manage to like chop and deal slices into this creature, you see the hood pull back, and you see an insectoid-like face, orbs of red, and a moth-like humanoid face staring back at you.
Oh no.
And it just screeches in like pain. Do any of you know deep speech?
No.
Do I still have comprehend languages active? Because
That was like ages ago from like doing this. This was like no.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't know deep speech.
Then yeah, no one understands at this point what it's saying.
Paya might, because I know he had picked several uncommon languages, but I'm not sure if deep.
He knows Abyssal. He does not know. Unfortunately, he does not know the correct spell. He does not know the correct language. He also does not understand this.
Okay.
Okay, but Bo, so you've made your action. You've done your movement. You've done your action. You've done your bonus action. I think that's it for your turn.
So just gonna put this in chat because now the Ancestral Guardian thing is in effect.
Okay, so now Kala, you see a sort of very buff, fit, younger version of Bo suddenly emanate from, in a sort of spectral form of her. Think effectively a monk version of Bo suddenly appears right next to her and goes to sort of hinder the enemy's attacks. So now, while Bo has successfully managed to hit it until the start of Bo's next turn, it's going to have disadvantage on any attack roll that's not against her. And if it goes against anything else, they're going to have resistance.
Is that thing glowing by any chance?
The Spectral Guardian?
Mm-hmm.
No worries.
I mean, is it
yes.
glowing? Okay, cool.
Yes.
Because otherwise, no, I didn't see that.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah, it's like a pulsy, like.
I had to double check that for a second.
Yes, I'll say it's
ghosty
spectral.
kind of
I'm gonna go with the rule of cool. Spectral
Okay.
equals glowy. So
Yeah.
I'll say it's enough that Kala you can see within 10 feet away from the creature. So you can't see anything around it, but then you see this like little 10-foot circle around the creature.
Like light around the creature with other bows. Okay.
So yeah, that's Bo's turn. I'm gonna say, Kala, it is your turn. What you doing?
Okay, Kala is gonna do much similar career-ending move. Walk right up to him.
Real American hero.
And we're gonna do this thing because we can. And specifically, so does that. And then sort of like draws their short sword, and then but before they like take a swing, like slap it on the edge of their shield and strike it, and you like from where the sparks fly, like just what looks like lightning coats the sword, and then takes.
Okay. Make your attacks.
Sparky.
He's a real Tsubaki boy. That hits. That's its armor class. The first one.
No wonder Daisy was feeling all the electricity.
That was garbage roll. Okay, so it does a grand total of 6 piercing and 1 lightning.
Get out. So 6 piercing, 7. So
Yep.
okay. This is solid damage. You don't have a second attack yet, unless you're doing your two-handed fighting.
When I'm not, I am dueling. So like no, it does get +2 damage because I have dueling. Haha! So it's 9 damage.
Aha! Victory!
I remembered that because we had this conversation. Great job.
Brilliant.
Okay, so you've managed to deal that damage. Okay. Is that it for your turn, Kala?
That will be it, I think. Yeah.
It is now the creature's turn. Let me double check its movement.
Will be missed, Bo.
Yes, I know.
So it's the creature with its wings. It's going to flap 5 feet up, 5 feet forward, so it lands over here. Over here. Come on, roll 20. Stop being foot. Oh, you're out of range.
Oh.
That's unfortunate. However, 2 of you still are in range, so it is going to use psychic warfare.
That sounds unpleasant.
You hear once again this terrifying screech just emanate out of this creature, and for a moment, you, Kala and Bo, you feel this emanating pulse of psychic energy begin targeting your minds. I need a wisdom saving throw from both of you.
Okay. Ooh.
Garbage.
So Kala, you do not make it.
No.
Oh wait, I have dice. I keep forgetting. This is so cool. I love my partner. They got me dice. It's so amazing. Oh, I can only remember which one is. Wait, where's my D8?
On a slippery slope.
Wait. When you're looking for multiple dice, that's not a good thing.
I mean, it's definitely not a good thing. So that's 1. That's 2. So that's 3 and 6. So that's Kala. You're gonna take 9 points of psychic damage.
Okay.
And Bo, you're going to take 4. But I think because of the way Ancestral Guardians is phrased, it's our next turn. When a target hits a creature other than you with an attack, I'm going to include an AoE as being involved with that. So Kala, you will take 4, and Bo, you will take 4 psychic damage.
Okay.
That's not halved because of your raging. But Kala, you in particular, you will suffer this additional effect that this screech is so overwhelming to you, and it pierces so deeply into your mind, you are frightened of this creature for a minute.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Question. So I only took 4, or do I take?
You only take the 4
Okay.
because Bo's ancestral guardians effectively, like, you see the
Blocks.
form go and, like, try and, like, almost embrace you and protect you for a second, and it's sort of like her shouldering some of the damage.
Mhm.
So, that will be that effect. Fortunately, given it can only hit things in a 15-foot radius around it, can't hit too many more of you, but it's done its movement, so that's it for its turn. Azerlaf.
I am moving away.
You're moving away. This is very wise.
And now I'm going to cast Guiding Bolt.
Unfortunately, that is not going to hit it.
Okay. And I am also going to cast Sacred Flame.
Guiding Bolt is an action, and Sacred Flame is also an action, so you
Oh,
can
okay.
both do one or the other.
Okay, sorry, I was in Warlock.
No worries. No worries. I know you're
okay.
still relatively new to D&D related mechanic
Yeah.
stuff. That's why I'm checking and letting you know. So you still have a bonus action if there's anything you can cast.
Nah, that's
Uh,
not.
Okay, and you've moved away.
Okay.
So right now, the biggest threat is to the two of them. Okay, and so far there are no other sources of light available. So at the end of its turn, at the end of your turn, Azeralat, it's going to use its legendary action Shadow Movement, where it is going to move half of its base speed, which is only 10 feet of movement, but it is going to move about 10 feet closer and away without suffering any sort of opportunity attack from either of the melee fighters. Okay. Now it's Baya's turn. Baya is going to go 25, 30. Just try and run in a direction away from this thing, and is going to try and use Eldritch Blast to try and get some damage into it. That is going to actually hit it. Wow, that is actually a solid blow. That's 8 points of damage to the creature. Nice. On Baya's turn. And they are going to give a Bardic Inspiration to Bo. So
Okay.
Bo, you have a D6 Bardic Inspiration die you can add to your abilities.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so that's it for Baya's turn. DD, what are you doing?
I'm going to move 30 feet and up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that what I'm next to, or is that basically blocking line of sight?
Yes,
Okay,
it would be,
so
because you're basically
before-
near kind of shrubbery. Those circles are all shrubbery and trees around the sort
Okay,
of
so
area around the
before-
path.
Before I go around the corner, I will pop a spell. And I will cast Chill Touch as given before I pop around the corner.
Okay.
So that is, I believe, a ranged attack.
That will do it.
What?
That
Good hit. Horrible.
This is like every time I've used Chill Touch, this is what freaking happens.
Not like a necromancy hand. It's like
However-
a literal cat paw. It's like boop.
It's
I mean-
the caress. However, the important rider that's there is until
I can't heal, correct? Because of Chill Touch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I say light him up.
Okay. So let's see, where are we at now? All right. Is that it for your turn, DD?
Yep. Yeah, so until my next turn they can't heal.
Okay, Bo, you're up.
Okay, she's going to move back toward him, and same thing, reckless attack. Does a
That
16 hit?
Just hits its armor class.
Oh, thank you. Oh, nice.
And that's definitely going to hit its armor class. That's nearly full damage on that one. The Barbarian coming in clutch.
Yeah. I didn't even use my advantage.
Oh wait, actually no, that would only be the first roll. Because if you're doing reckless attack, those two rolls are your first. So you still have another attack.
Okay.
I just saw a face of utter joy on your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, roll.
Yeah.
Do one more roll.
Yeah.
Just to see if it's a crit. Not a crit, but that's a little bit more damage. So I'll take one more point off because one of your rolls did have higher damage.
Okay.
Okay. Is that it for your turn?
Yeah, because I'm still raging, so the ancestral guardian thing still comes into effect.
Okay. Just out of range. All right. At the end of your turn, it's going to use shadow movement once again to move 10 more feet. A little bit of ways, but other than that, Kala, it's your turn. What are you doing?
Well, I can't get any closer to it because I'm frightened.
Yep.
Disadvantage on things to attack it. But that's okay because I don't need to move. Kala drops his sword, draws a hand crossbow and shoots it. Chance of me missing relatively high.
Okay. Let's see what happens. Unfortunately, with the disadvantage,
Yep.
it misses.
Cool. And that's that's that.
Okay. I rolled. It does not get psychic warfare back. However, it is within range to do something else.
Was I frightened for a turn or I
For a
missed-
minute, re-roll your wisdom saving throw to see if you can break the fear effect.
Yes.
Yes, you break the fear effect. You are no longer afraid of this thing.
Nice.
It is, however, you suddenly see this creature begin uttering words. Because none of you understand deep speech, you hear this deep, bellowing, insectoid-like voice emerge from the body. And you suddenly see its movement become more... It increases its movement. And it appears to be a lot faster than you expected it to be. So, given that, it's going to use its 20 feet of base movement and use a bonus action with Expeditious Retreat that it's cast on itself to move right near Dee Dee.
I do have the ability to cast shield, so I may cast it.
Okay. Getting close to you, Dee Dee, it's going to unleash its multi-attack and it's going to take 3 claw attacks at you.
I think I'm gonna cast shield anyway, so my AC is now.
That is a crit.
So that doesn't help against that, but hopefully.
That's a 24.
Yeah.
And that is a 10.
10 misses.
Okay, so the first one is going to do 10 points of slashing damage, and then the second one is going to do 8 points of slashing damage.
Okay.
As you just see these long talon claws just start raking out across your body.
But with Ancestral Guardians,
But that's
because
true.
you didn't
Yeah, it's
target
true.
bow, it's half damage.
Yeah, so it would have been 20 points of damage for the crit, reduced back down to 10, and then it would have been 8 points of damage reduced down to 4. So that's 14 points of damage. Yeah, you would have taken 28 points of damage in that one turn, but
Ooh.
Bo's Ancestral Guardians have brought it back down to 14.
14 is way better.
Yeah.
It's way better.
Way better.
Yes. But that's going to be its turn. So, yeah. Zerlath, you just see this tall, moth humanoid-like creature just suddenly speed over to Dee Dee and just start clawing at them.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna try Guiding Bolt again.
The MLG sniper has currently left the building, unfortunately.
Alright, and then I'm also gonna cast Healing Word as a bonus action on.
As Healing Word, you would know this. Because you cast a leveled spell as your action, you can't cast anything other than a cantrip as your bonus action.
Okay.
You would know this as a character, so I
Okay.
will allow in this one instance, if you did not want to do the Guiding Bolt and wanted to prioritize the
Yeah, I'll
Healing
do the
Word,
Healing Word.
you'll still lose the spell slot for using the Healing Word, so use Healing Word, but I won't count the Guiding Bolt, because your character would know this, and I know you're relatively new to
Okay.
D&D
thank
stuff.
you.
So,
Okay,
Dee Dee,
so-
you're getting
Thank
6
you.
healing from the Healing Word, because 60 feet is ridiculous range for healing, and you're good.
Yeah.
You just see a swirl, almost like a set of book pages just create a small little cyclone around you, and you feel almost like knowledge itself is breathing life into you. So yeah, that would be you. Because you did Healing Word as an action instead of Guiding Bolt, you could still cast Sacred Flame as your action, Zerlath.
Ooh, okay. I would like to do that.
Okay. So, unfortunately, the first roll is a 20.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So- Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then I moved over here.
Okay. That's going to be his turn. Faya is going to try and do his best to just try and distract it with fire and see what he can do to get its attention, to get it away from you, Dee, because he doesn't want to see you get hurt. So that first one is not going to hit. Second one is unfortunately not going to hit. Third one is going to hit. That's going to be 3 points of fire damage at it. So it does take a blow. But Faya is unfortunately trying his best to help out, but he can't do too much. Dee, it's your turn.
Okay, I am going to cast Chill Touch. Is it right up my grill?
It's right next to you. Like, it's within. This thing is a large creature, so it's got range on you right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna cast Chill Touch.
That's definitely going to hit. Would you mind re-rolling that for me? Would you mind rolling Chill Touch again? The 13 does not hit it because Dee.
That one necrotic. Like, I'm just gonna roll this now just for funsies. Just for.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's insulting to a ridiculous degree. But Dee, what you see happen is when you try and use the Chill Touch, there's a moment. Yes, but here's the thing. This is something that's important for the rest of the fight, but I'll say only you know this right now. As you feel the necrotic energy of the cantrip begin to take effect, you feel for a moment like the creature, you see its hands move, and there's almost like, think of every film you've ever seen where there's like a rewind sort of moment in the film. It's almost like time gets stopped, reverses for a second, and then it has you redo it again.
What the? Oh no. However, with that insulting thing that has happened to me, I am going to use a bonus action to cast Misty Step and GDFO. 30 feet behind some bushes. Hopefully it doesn't see where I am.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm gonna try to hide. I know that there might not be the action economy for it, but that's what I'm trying to do.
I know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But okay, so that was your action, your bonus action. Is that it for your turn?
Yep.
Okay, Bo, you're up.
All right.
Your plaything is running away.
Yeah, like Bo's like, okay. Right up on top of him again. Reckless attack again. Why not? It's been working for her.
As Travis would himself said, reckless attacks. Because
That's the first one.
Okay.
And the second one.
advantage is a hell of a drug.
Yeah,
Damage is a hell of a drug.
it really is.
That's going to do damage to it. Both of those hit. And the thing is just, it's crying out in this screeching. It's strange to hear like a screech, but like with almost deep bassy tones to it. There's a very unpleasant.
Does it sound like fear or
Roll me insight. It seems terrified. You don't know for what purpose. You don't know if it's just you beating the shit out of it so it's scared, or if it's something else about its nature that is compelling it to be afraid right now. With that lower
Okay.
check, you have no idea.
Okay.
But yeah, you do 2 solid blows against this creature. That it for
Alright.
your turn?
Yeah, that's all she's doing.
Kala, you're up.
Where's the monument on the map of where we are?
It's a little bit of ways. It's still the problem is that for Kala, because you do not have dark vision, you would not be able to see it. Others would be able to see it. You could maybe see in the distance a faint, very faint, slight glow coming from the direction of the monument.
It's a ways away.
It's at least 30, 45 feet away. Roughly from what you can tell, you would have to use like your whole turn to get over there.
Yeah, so I think Kala drops the crossbow, picks up the sword. Actually, no. Keeps the crossbow, leaves the sword. Go and try and I think we'll use this whole movement to get to the one. And then just kind of like take the butt of the crossbow and just the thing that Dee Dee was looking at that was glowing earlier, the little hourglass,
Mhm.
just sort of like bang the butt of the crossbow into the symbol. See if he can get the creature's attention.
Roll me a wisdom saving throw.
$18.
Okay. This real quick. It's 10. It's 20. It's 25, but you made your save. So you feel as your sword clangs into the monument, this blood, it feels as though all of the blood moving throughout your brain and your blood vessels in your body starts boiling as you feel this psychic energy just begin piercing into your mind. You you hold yourself, you steel yourself for a moment, and the damage is not as severe. But as you do this, the creature, Bo, you are the closest to seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
it cries out in pain and it goes prone and limp. I would like, let me see, who has distance to see this? 25. Nope. I would like everyone to make me an insight check. I would say, Kala, you have advantage on this given what you did.
Oh.
Kala, even through this pain, even through all the, like, it's piercing. It feels like someone is shoving knives directly into your skull and it's hurting. But even through that, you hear this alien but scared voice in your head speak to you just for a second. And it just says, message. Scared. Message. Scared. That's all you get for your turn, I'd say. I'd say you have enough to, like, a short statement you could say to anyone else.
Okay. Kala just yells, "Wait!" And then doubles over because ow.
Okay. The creature gets up and Kala, I think you're the only one because you rolled high enough. You can see, even from this point, from where you hear the screech, you're able to read in because of the message you received and how high you rolled on insight. This thing is just, it's lashing out in pain, and it doesn't seem to have really focus on what it's doing. It doesn't seem to be wanting to act this way, but it's just doing that, like almost out of a sense of self-preservation and instinct. And Dee Dee, I'm so sorry to troll you like this, but you see all of a sudden the creature just hold out its hands and a shroud of mist appears around it, and it misty steps 30 feet directly next to you.
Well, it was nice knowing all of you.
Because it wouldn't have done that, but I rolled for its perception. I was going to give you a base of at least 15 for your hide, because I don't think you could really hide for it, but I think 15 is a pretty rare one. For it's dark, but you have some shrubbery, but you're not super tall, but you could hide behind it. It rolled a crit on its perception check.
I will shield again. So my AC is 19.
Okay, so the first one is a 14, second one is an 18, and the third one is a crit.
What?
Ooh.
Nine.
Well,
That's going to be 14 points of slashing damage as 3 of its claws attempt to strike out at you, and only 1 of them succeeds.
Do I still take half because of the...
Yes, so it's going to only be 7 points of slashing damage.
Okay. I'm still up.
Kala, you took 12 points of psychic damage. It was going to be 25 because I rolled max damage on the 2d10 plus 5. But currently Ancestral Guardians is protecting all of you. It's keeping all of you from getting hurt really bad by this thing, because this thing hits very hard and a lot.
I have a much deeper respect for Bo at this point. I've never actually been attacked so thoroughly before, but now.
Yeah, during all of these moments, like Dee Dee, it's very clear, like the bow spirit, it shouldn't have this level of agility and movement, but it's just darting around the field, and it's just like, imagine the most monk ridiculous shit you're imagining, but Bo doing it in a spectral form is just flying around the field and holding and protecting people, like just guarding it, or it's just basically like it's almost like an imaginary foe is trying to strike at you, and Bo's form is just interceding at every moment. Just like we're basically at like end of Matrix first film, like just parrying the blows away from the last agent. We're at that level of what Bo's spirit is doing.
If I survive this, I'm going to, one of my first 3rd level spells I'm going to take is haste.
Make the barbarian even more overpowered. That is going to be the creature's turn, as it's right next to Dee Dee. Azerlath, you're up. You, again, because of your low insight roll, you have no idea what this creature is doing other than what it's been doing this entire time. Only Kala, you've heard Kala say wait, but you don't know why. Just to tell you in character, this is what you know.
Can I see either it or Bo right now from where I'm standing?
You are far back, my friend. You are quite far back because you ran a lot. But you can definitely see Bo, and you have dark vision out to 60 feet, so you can see everything right now.
Okay. I'm gonna cast Healing Word on DD again.
Okay, DD, you get 7 points of healing.
So that healed that particular attack back.
Yep. Healed one of 3 claw attacks that went at you.
It's a wash.
And then I'm going to stop. I'm gonna wait.
You're waiting.
Yeah.
Okay. Baya is gonna prep a spell just in case. It is also going to wait. Dee Dee, it's your turn. You've been fucking getting clogged to shit.
I'm gonna cast Mirror Image.
Okay.
And I'm going to... Yeah, I can't really move without it attacking, so I'm just gonna stay put. mirror image and just be like ready to cast shield again.
Like, you're in that mode right now. Okay.
Yep.
Bo,
Oh,
your
did you?
turn.
Yeah, she's gonna attack it,
Okay.
I suppose.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
especially with that, you rolled a crit, so you have really no idea what this thing is doing. You rolled a
Right.
crit fail, I mean. You heard I'll tell you this. You heard Kala say stop. You have no sense of what this creature's intentions are outside of you just saw it attack Dee Dee again.
Right.
But you heard Kala say stop. Weigh what you think Bo's reaction would be between those two things.
I mean, I actually kind of I want to argue for another check because I feel like considering
Everyone's like
Bo's
stopping.
shifter self also that she might like have some sort of insight into when an animal is acting unusual or not like in its nature.
That's true. I will allow that. I will allow you another insight roll. The DC will
Okay.
remain the same, but I will allow you another insight
Okay.
roll because I think that's fair. Because I think you, as given your particular animalistic nature, would have a sense of like whether or not this creature is lashing out. It's better than
still low.
before. It doesn't seem like it still seems hostile. You can tell that there's some other intent behind its actions potentially, but
Mhm.
you don't know is the best I can tell you with that check. You don't know.
Okay. So Bo is still going to Bo's still gonna attack it, but she is not like trying to
Kill it.
chop
Like knock out
him
him.
up. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
pommel of
like
the
she's gonna
hand
hit
axes.
like with the flat of the blade, not like the
Yeah.
sharp.
Okay. I will allow that because you've
I have
specified
to-
that. So roll your hits, and if you're doing
Can
reckless attack, roll.
she can move through here, or is
Yeah,
that
those
like-
are shrubbery, but like you have enough
Okay.
because you're a barbarian. They would normally be difficult terrain, but no matter what, this thing is big enough, and you have enough movement as a barbarian to make it to them. That was just more in
Okay.
case people were trying to hide or what have you, or in case other creatures,
like cover?
yeah, other creatures were trying to hide to fight you.
Okay.
That is what would have happened.
Oh, that one is low. Oh, I have advantage. I forgot.
Yes, you do have advantage. Don't forget, you are reckless attacking.
All right. So this is the second like the roll for advantage. Oh, hey.
That is definitely going to hit it.
And then my second attack. This one should actually do the advantage. Yeah.
That is also going to hit it, and also really high damage.
Yeah.
Okay. This thing again, it continues screaming out in that very horrible insectoid, deep-toned speech.
Okay. That's all she's going to do.
Okay. Kala, it's your turn. You have, I'll say you do have enough movement, even if with moving that you could make it back. Especially since this creature is so like on the northern edge of the map.
Before I do that, can I try touching the mark again?
Okay. I'll say this will use your bonus action to do this.
Yeah,
To take the time to do this before, if you want to do anything else afterward, it is going to be at least your bonus action.
it's fine. Yeah, I can do that. That's fine. So yeah, the bonus action to try and touch the mark that I hit last time and see if I can establish any kind of connection with this creature, even if it's rudimentary like it was before.
Roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Or I die. We'll see. Well, it's an 8, so maybe I die.
That's 20 points of psychic damage.
Well, I'm down.
That's 10.
Oh, it's 10.
Oh, it's 10. Yeah, because it's anything
I'm
else.
not down. I'm at 8.
Yay, Bo!
Hey, there's tanks who just will eat every damage, and then there's tanks who do long, sticky defending. And Bo is a very good.
with that plan. So Yeah. So how much can I communicate to it, I guess?
As you reach out and you touch the monument, Kala, you feel your mind drift off entirely, going back to moments you thought were gone already. You see an individual who looks very much like yourself, dead in front of you, passed away. You see your form shifting into this person, becoming and taking on their personality. You see many other people who were good friends and allies who you traversed with just float by, a cascade of memories all of a sudden just coming at you. It's just passive. We're talking like it has the unnerving level of like Willy Wonka boat ride-esque kind of thing. It's just like Thor Ragnarok, Willy Wonka boat ride levels of like, this is uncomfortable set of memories going by. And then you see visions of a forest out east, where you see many of the friends and other people you've met along the way in your travels gathered around a fire with you in the form you do not assume very often in front of people, sitting with them happily, traversing, talking, sharing jokes. You see yourself in your full form, playing card tricks and entertaining them, and you see people relishing the comfort and joy that you brought into their lives. And you hear a voice just sort of pierce through that saying, "Rent. Future." And then your body, you feel your mind return to you. And you're back on the scene. You see Bo hacking into this creature. You see Dee Dee having gotten attacked. And you have a sense that whatever this creature is, it's perhaps not malintended.
Okay.
You have an action left.
Where am I so I know I'm not actually on the map where
Right, at this point you're not on the map. The map is like standing in for roughly where people are at this point, but it's just more for like viewers having a sense of what's going on. You could probably with a full movement make it over to Dee Dee, right where the creature is, I'd say, given how far you had to go north. You're muted.
Like there-ish, give or take, from where I went north?
Yes, you would be able to get over there right near it.
Is this thing big enough that people can't see me through it?
It's about it's standing at its full height now, which you're seeing is about 10 feet tall. And its wings are a good like 10 feet in wingspan width-wise.
Okay, so it's pretty opaque. So what I do is pull my hood up, and then I have to message or something.
Okay, I'll wait for the message. We'll see. Okay. Is this something that are you trying to be sneaky about this so that no one else is aware of it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Roll me just for narrative sake. Roll me either stealth or sleight of hand, whichever your choice. Okay. Bo. I'll say Bo and Dee Dee. Roll me perception checks.
No.
No. It happens quickly enough that no one picks up on it, Kala. But you all see this creature having stood tall menacingly, its wings having beat out. Its wings slowly regress back against its side. And it moves closer to you, Kala. And it just sits down. And it sort of gestures towards its head. And is trying to like communicate with you, like touch heads. Which I'll say you have just enough in your turn that you would be able to do that.
Sure.
When you do that, you have the rush of memories return to you again. The future glimpses that seem to be coming towards you happen once again. And you see a set of images that don't seem to belong to your path. What you see is vast pyramids, very much think like Chichen Itza, like Mayan sort of design, Aztec sort of design pyramids, various steeples carrying out various almost communities enacting games, almost like variation, like medieval like soccer variations and things of that sort. And then you see this whole terrain overflow with what appears to be an active volcano near it, covering all of this ground in a lava flow. And as time passes over this region, imagine sort of like watching a video of like a sped up effect of an area over time, where you're seeing like dirt slowly change the coloration for the stone, and the whole terrain shifting to this red, beautiful, almost like amber reds and oranges and yellows, and new communities slowly starting to create out of the stone and out of the remains and the volcanic rock. But as these communities start building and creating, you then see one last image of various bands of pale white skin belonging to humanoids, to shifters, to elves, to dwarves, all in what appear to be fits of rage descending upon this community. And you hear them chanting the phrase, "By blood and blade do we enact his glory." And the vision cuts out. I would like you to roll me a wisdom saving throw.
10, and this is where I die.
You take 18 points of psychic damage, cut in half because of Bo's guardians, but that is enough to knock you out, I believe.
That drops me, yep.
Yeah, and you all see this creature. After it seems to just touch its head to Kala's head, Kala just passes out, and you see blood just slowly trickling out the side of his ears. That's going to be your turn, Kala. The creature steps over it, and Bo, for a moment, for you and Dee Dee, you look at this, and this creature, it looks almost like it's going to be hostile, but it enacts an ability. I'm going to tell you out of character, it's enacting its ability, its innate ability, known as Alter Fate. It puts its hands over, and for a moment you see it almost looks like bits of sand flow out of the tips of its talons, fall over the wounds all over Kala's body, and Kala, you're stabilized at 0. And for the first time throughout this entire encounter, it looks at you, Bo, and it looks at you, Dee Dee, and you just hear it like very strangled in doing so, but it looks at you and it says, "Friend. Sorry." That's its turn. What do you do? Zarlak.
don't know.
Correct response.
Fair.
I'm not sure. Yeah, so I saw it like stop attacking people.
You saw it stop, and you can see, even though it's kind of covered a little bit, you see it just putting its hands over Kala's body. You can't tell exactly what it's doing, and you did hear probably a cry of pain from Kala because, ow, 19 points of psychic damage hurts.
I mean, I guess I don't know.
If you just want to wait and just skip your
Yeah,
turn.
I think I'm
fine.
just gonna wait. Yeah.
Okay. Baya gets closer and is about to like attack it, but sees him on the ground. And if the thing makes any sort of hostile movement, he's gonna make an attack on it.
And I also sort of signal, like, please don't.
Okay. That's Baya's turn. Didi, what are you doing? I'm keeping you all in initiative just for like one more round, but effectively, pretty much right now, combat is not like super in right now. It's just more just to see how are you reacting right now in the right aftermath of this. What are you doing?
I am grabbing Kala by the cuff and kind of dragging him to my side, just as I'm going to make sure you're not dead. Hopefully, I can cast Gentle Repose as a ritual. I sort of check your pulse.
Yeah. Didi, as you're doing this, you see near Kala's eye, just near it, like a patch by his eye looks very unnaturally gray, and now the whole eye itself seems to be turning pure white, like blank. I'd like you to roll me either a history or a nature check.
I will go with history.
I'll say that's enough. It was a pretty high DC. Only you recognize this so far. But you've heard tell in passages about the Feywild of beings said to have been blessed and born almost as the first children of the planar life of the Feywild itself, known as the Fey-touched. Said to now be called changelings in more common nomenclature. And you see for a moment as you're going through to make sure he's okay, the eye flashes a very vibrant red, but immediately calms down. But you check his pulse, he's fine.
Does he look human?
He still looks human for the most part. It's just the eye.
Interesting. Still
For the-
sort of putting my body in front of, like interposing myself between this creature and Kala, just kind of just standing in front.
For the purposes of sort of tonight and wrapping this up in a sort of cleaner way, I'm going to say we're out of combat, as at this point, I think all of you, even just with passive insight, can get a sense this creature doesn't mean any harm.
Mm-hmm.
The creature just sort of turns and sort of stares in the direction of the monument. It gestures towards it with its head, and it walks over to you, Azerlath. And it, with its long sort of talon claw, it points at the holy symbol that you have. And then it points at the monument. And then it points towards itself and the monument.
Like you. Like you.
Just seems to be struggling to just say the phrase "like you." It's standing right in front of you. Again, this is a tall 10-foot moth humanoid-esque flying creature. It's just standing there in front of you, just pointing at your holy symbol. What do you do?
Nothing.
It nods, and it walks back over to the group. It nods at Didi. It nods at Baya. It waits a little second while it's looking in the direction of Kala. And then it turns to Bo. And it holds out a talon claw, not in any way agitating, not aggressive. It just holds out its talon to you.
Bo is going to. She's gonna actually. I'm gonna end her rage and reach out to touch the claw.
Roll me a wisdom saving throw. Okay. You take 21 points of psychic damage.
Ouch.
But in the process, you go through the same process. During that process, you go through the same sort of experience that Kala goes through. You see the same sets of images, not of Kala's, but of your own life, the sort of military, the sort of soldier, mercenary sort of training you've had. And you also see a future. It looks like someone else, a shifter, similar background as your own, with you in the future, just traveling alongside you. Not flirtatious, but a very almost knowing, happy smile, like the smile that for anyone who's ever had a partner, that when you're happy together and sharing a moment, just looking back at you. And you also see the various images of hordes of men, mostly, especially many with pale white skin or light skin. And you see it utters the last thing before the vision ends. You hear that strangled voice utter the word Chantiko. And then pulled out. The stress of this experience is painful, and that's really where the psychic damage is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns away from the group. It flaps its wings, and it flies towards the monument. And you see it just sort of wrap its arms against this, almost like the way like the body in a sarcophagus might be positioned. And it just melds into the monument itself. And you see that if you go closer to the monument, anyone who gets to look at it, you can see that the hourglass is now filled with sand alongside the monument.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have rested near this monument. In retrospect.
I mean, that was a pretty creepy experience. Yeah.
Shall we maybe move a couple of 100 or 200 or, a kilometer away before we rest for the night?
If you'd like. I'm sure Kala would give his input, but he's currently knocked out.
And at this point, I sort of very slowly, I sigh and slowly sort of start dragging him.
Wait, how big is Kala?
I have a strength score of like 8 or 9, okay?
Like 6 foot human.
Okay.
Well, 11. I'm not too bad.
I
You're
think
above
Bo
average.
could just like heft him up on her shoulder, like a fireman carry, kind of.
Bo, you do this like one arm. It's like very easy. It's just sort of like Dee Dee's like not struggling, but it's like you have to put some effort, and then like Bo goes and is like, but yeah, you're
What are you eating?
Bo's like need some help.
Yeah.
For breakfast or second breakfast or early lunch, afternoon lunch.
I sigh and I say, I'd really like to rest now, but not near that thing. And I point towards the obelisk.
There's just another side along the path,
Yeah.
and
Move
you'll
along.
get a full rest. Everyone can recover all your health and spell slots and everything. And the next morning awakens. Kala, you wake up fully rested. You are recovered as well. Everything is sore and hurts like fuck. But
Primarily my brain.
primarily the brain. But you all are able to sleep, and pretty much nothing else happens except for you, Dee Dee.
Okay.
It's a very, very small thing, but in passing, the shard that I'm sure you keep on your person in a very safe place at all times.
It's in my pants.
Pretty safe for the most part. I mean, not if Kala's involved, but that's another story. Anyways, so
I have been entirely unconscious up until now.
yeah, exactly. You're unconscious, not unconscious. What the fuck do you take me for? Anyways, the producer is giving me a look. Dee Dee, you just have a moment where you see an image just appear behind you, similarly to the way that the phoenix sort of form, the divine rock appeared behind you. But this time you see the moth humanoid, Mothman, and some might call, appear alongside, and you see very faintly, almost spectral, in a similar way to Bo's spectral guardians, a massive, what appears to be a leathery, almost skeletal in some ways, but it's just very almost emaciated, gray-scaled dragon.
Ooh, that's no good.
And it just looks at you, and it nods, and the moth creature just sort of smiles for a second. However, a sort of moth humanoid of this strange features that it has along its face can. It smiles. And then it just utters the word peace. At peace. Dream fades. You wake up the next morning.
I write it down in my spell book, but I don't think about it right now.
As the next morning arrives, rested, recovering from the experience of dealing with this, of having a day that started with a delightful tabaxi vendor and ended with an encounter with you don't know what. But as we reach the last little bit of this session, what do you think you find yourselves all doing in light of all this? Especially, I'd say, I'm going to start with Kala. What is Kala doing?
Kala's like getting ready to he's getting ready to leave. He's got some things to think about. I think, and I think it's something that likes all the people he's met here. They seem nice, but that's a little too much already. That's a lot to have happened in a night after having met a bunch of people. he has some things to think about, I think. So I think he's like, packing his things, amiably, wishing them all a good adventure. But I think he's going to head north in a different direction towards a forest and see what happens there.
Okay. Does anyone?
Before you head off north, I sort of stop by and I say, very sort of knowingly at you, a secret for a secret. And I just say goodbye. And I sort of like point to my sort of like skin and sort of look at you.
Yeah, I think Kala sort of just like Kala winks, I think, at you as you walk away. And for a minute, there is he doesn't notice, but there is like another flicker of red across the one eye you saw before. And then he goes back to packing.
Okay. Is there a laugh? Bo, do either of you speak with Kala during the last little bit here as he's heading out?
I think Bo maybe like raises a hand in goodbye, but doesn't really say anything. And she's not really one for like emotional like greetings or goodbyes. And I think at this point she also maybe thinks that this is like not the last that we've seen of Kala, because that was a pretty intense experience. And kind of with her background, when you share something like that, then you kind of have a bond.
All right. And as we sort of begin, in a way, fading out to this last moment, to this last sort of handshake, this goodbye, and this acknowledgement of the wandering human mercenary of joy, brightness, known as Kala, heading off away from the group, being a wonderful person, a bit of light and a bit of similar levels of what the fuck just happened in light of this recent encounter with another, perhaps even divine messenger. I think we're going to call that a good moment to close out the session this evening, so that we give enough time for folks to say sort of the little spiels goodbye and everything, and so that we're not holding anyone up here too late. But so again, thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in to watch this, listen to us, be silly, have these moments of deep emotional like focus and determination. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us for all of this. We're going to do, again, a round for everyone here to just say who they are and where they can find them on the interwebs and what you do. To just give everyone like a little plug. I'm going to start this time with our own beloved Didi.
So you can find me on the internet at media_junkie. I am basically here Saturday and Sunday nights, with starting off with Adventures in Agni. And then tomorrow, for Pride and also for 3V, I will be running a Surzamine themed game. Temple of Kaze Kaza literally means Temple of Rainbow. And after that, Emissaries of Avitna with our lovely producer Fox. Yeah, that's where you can find me. Oh, and yes, Musafir, GM of Musafir's podcast.
Thank you. Our wonderful barbarian hacking extraordinaire, Bo?
Hello, I am Lily. I'm Elise on Life on Twitter, and you can find me here in Agni every Saturday late night. And also, I do participate in 3V, but I'm not going to be in tomorrow's game. But yeah, it looks pretty fun. And I am also a member of the Misfits of Space, which is an actual play Star Wars podcast. And also, since in my time zone it is after midnight, I would like to say today is my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Celebrations, barbarian!
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birth.
Thanks.
Next up, is there live?
Hey, I'm Aletta, and you can find me on Twitter, and I post a lot of art, and right now Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers.
Shadowbringers! I don't even play, and I'm
Really
also hyped for it.
It's really, really good.
Then our wonderful, fantastic guest, Ryamasa.
Hi. So I am John or Ryamasa. You can find me on Twitter at RY0MASA. I have to because somebody has my name. But I do some occasional musings on mental health in the gaming sphere on Twitter. I am a drama therapy student learning to do therapeutic techniques for tabletop role-playing games and more. So I post some things about that occasionally. I will be doing less of that probably over the year because that's thesis year. And I'm also a member of the cast of Gore of Ravnica on Giro for Asol's channel, and I play Fantazi, who's very much not like Kala at all. Like the exact opposite, is like brooding and emo and a bit of a murder hobo. So you can find me there on Saturdays at 5 p.m. EST, I think, every other week. We didn't do game this week, but the game is next week. I also play and DM. I've DM'd one game here for 3V on the party, and I played in a couple as well, and hopefully we'll be doing more of that as time goes on.
Very grateful for having you join us, John. Thank you so much for the schedules aligning and being an amazing guest player for us. So I'm Angela, otherwise known as Phoenix24Femme on the Twitter universe, where you can find my posts about my poetry on my Patreon, which is Philosopheme. I am one half of the Queerly Yours relationship podcast with my partner, where we are a trans polyamorous couple who talk a lot about different relationship topics, including recently one episode I think we either is coming out soon or did get released on bisexuality, because that's a thing, because it exists despite the consistent frustration that the rest of us who folks want to say otherwise. It exists. I am here and I am belligerently aggressively saying it. But I do all of that, and I am the DM here, and I'm also going to be a player tomorrow. It's going to be such a weird experience to be a player, because I DM 3 campaigns, and I'm just like, and Sarsamine, which I've been wanting to try so much, so I'm so looking forward to that. And again, none of this would be possible without all of you wonderful viewers, our delightful producer Fox Bar, who's just amazing and is joining us to help us get all this material taken care of and running as smoothly as we can get it. I'll be fixing my internet on my end so we don't have the beginning thing hopefully happen again. But as we sign off, I don't think we're going to be like rating anyone because everyone's asleep at this point because it's late. It's late. But as my last sign up to all of you, no matter what happens, whatever fates you feel you've been destined to follow for all of time, if the recent months have given you a sense that you are stuck in that place, know that the ability to alter and change your fate is there, with community, with support, with the power you have within you. And know that your friends will have your back, and that the light and warmth of Ignis will be with you to guide you back to a new path of love, healing, community, and all the things that you need for the person you didn't get to be when you were younger. We love you all. Your trans mom loves you very dearly, because I love everyone aggressively in my affirmation style. And as always, thank you for joining us in Agni. Take care. Good night.